Hey, work from homers, Adam Schrader here. We love bringing you this podcast, and thousands of you have proven that it's been helpful for you. But since time and online storage space aren't free, Naresh and I wanted to come to you personally to ask for your financial support through Patreon. Go to patreon.com/workfromhomeshow and help support the show. And we appreciate your support at any amount you choose. That's patreon.com/workfromhomeshow. Thanks for your support. Let's get to the show.
Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Work From Home Show. This is your host Adam Schrader along with Naresh Vissa. Shout out to all our homies, homeboys, homegirls, home trans, all the work from homers out there. We are joined today by Hannah Howard. She is a writer and cheese maven. She is the author of Feast, True Love In and Out of the Kitchen, along with the new book, Plenty, a memoir of food and family. Hannah, welcome to the Work From Home Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. So why don't you start us off, just kind of tell us about who you are, how you got into the writing world, and why are you the cheese maven?
Sure. Well, if anyone has a better term for me, I'm all ears. I work with cheese and write about cheese, but it's hard to find a good cheese word. I'm not a cheesemonger because I don't sell cheese. I am a cheese lover. So I've always kind of had two big loves, food and writing, and so that I get to do both for a living is, I find myself to be extraordinarily lucky because those are my loves. I first thought I wanted to have my own restaurant, and I worked in restaurants for many years, long enough to realize that I was probably better suited to write about them than to manage the day-to-day operations. And for the last many years, I've been lucky enough to get to do a bunch of kind of food writing things, including books that are my big loves. I also write some food journalism and food essays. I do some copywriting to pay the bills for different food brands, especially cheese brands. And I teach food writing classes as well.
I will say that writing is probably, you probably found restaurants are one of the few professions where they, aren't as successful quite as much as writers hitting it big. So you definitely moved up because making restaurants work is definitely a tough business, as you've discovered.
I guess I didn't choose the easiest things.
There you go.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how you were able to make it this far while having a family and raising children, because your latest book is a memoir of food and family?
Sure. So this latest book is the story of me starting that family. So I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and I am very pregnant right now. I have another child coming in about a week or so. So,
wow. My son's 1.5 also, and my wife is pregnant too.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah. So that it's a lot. And I think, I think that kind of challenge of figuring out how to balance family and work it's something that I'm definitely don't have all the answers for. I think it's really tough. And I think it's one of the reasons that restaurant work is very male dominated, is that it's hard, it's tough to have. This is a problem for men too, so but it's just tough to have a family, and restaurant hours are really antisocial. So I think it's you're always working when everyone else is playing. So that's one of the things I like. I really like getting to work for myself and set my own hours. In some ways, it makes life easier, but then in other ways, it makes things really challenging. So I don't know. I don't know. But I feel lucky because I I love being a mom and I love being a writer. And I think I'm hoping that being a mom is giving me more stories, perspectives, wisdom, and helping me be a better writer. And I'm hoping that being a writer makes me be a better mom because I'm doing the thing that I love.
What do you think it is about food? I mean, it seems like, food triggers memories, it triggers conversations. And I mean, I know kind of you're just sitting around the table, and so that in some ways does it. But it seems like when people are around food, it's not just, I mean, you see people around society all the time around each other and not talking to each other. But then, you get around food and suddenly people start talking. What is it about that experience and about the creation of the food that lends itself to actual conversation and interaction?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question, and it's something that's kind of compelled my own inquiries into, right, like what is it about food that gets people so excited and open? And I think that there is just a part of food, enjoying food is like part of being human, and so it's this connection that we have in common through all kinds of life moments, small and large. Food is there, and it's bringing us out of our shells and bringing us together.
Because I feel like you can walk up to a random person and you couldn't ask them like, hey, where are you going? Or what's your name? That'd just be weird. But if you said, hey, I'm looking for a good restaurant around here, they'd be like, oh, I love this place, or I love this place, or you got to check this place out. And it just kind of opens up communication that wouldn't be there in normal everyday interactions.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's one of the things that I've really loved about food is that it just kind of excites something in someone, opens up something in someone in a way that other things don't do as easily. And that's why I feel like I'm so lucky that I get to talk about food, because people always want to talk about it.
I want to know your opinion on this, because you are in the food space, but women are known to cook. But why have so few women made it as celebrity food experts or chefs? I just find that kind of strange.
I, too, have found this big disconnect where, right, like the sort of traditional domestic sphere is your mom and your grandmother, and that's considered to be a feminine space. And yet when you look at so many of the big celebrity chefs and the big names in the food world, you see men everywhere. And I think that it's just, I mean, the like really quick answer is the patriarchy. I mean, there's so many kind of tentacles of that, it's easier for men to get investments in small businesses. There are boys' networks and just this tradition of chefs being men. There's traditions of media celebrating and taking more seriously the chef's work of men. And then there's like those really inhospitable hours we were talking about that make it hard for women to work in restaurants. So there's so many reasons, but I think that it is changing slowly but surely.
So can you talk us through your new book? Kind of how long did it take you to write? Were you doing it all from home? Kind of what was your process going through the creation of your newest book?
Yeah, I definitely had a little bit more. I think it was like a sophomore challenge. I maybe because your first book, I think you often, for me anyway, it was something that had been marinating in my brain and my heart maybe my whole life. And then I wrote it, and then I thought, oh, what do I do now? So it took a little bit more kind of hits and misses of well, what am I exactly writing about? What am I doing? And then when I did kind of have this moment when I landed on the topic and when I got dug into it and it felt like, oh, this feels right. I'm excited about this. And I think I took about a year to do the actual writing itself. And then publishing to me always feels, because I write a lot of things online. So for that, it's like you turn it in Monday, you edit it Tuesday, it runs on Wednesday, and then you're on to the next thing for Thursday. So, book publishing is so much slower than that. And I think it took another year after I had turned in the draft for it to that maybe even a little bit more than that for it to come out. So it's been, but it's also like really rewarding, and so many people work on it, from design to editing to publish to marketing. It's this really like cool teamwork, and it's really cool to see your book come into the world.
Yeah, and if you can tell us also a little bit about working from home and maybe some of your tips on those
blocking
who
out
are
the
working
1.5-year-old while you're writing.
Yeah, I mean that's one, but then also food tips for working from home, maybe some healthy eating or quick prep or maybe long prep, just any tips you have.
Yeah, it was a big transition going from working in restaurants, which was such a social, like you're always with people at all times and always on in that way, to being a freelance writer where it's like me and my laptop. And can be, I found that to be one of the challenges, is it being a little bit lonely. And before COVID times, I would really fill that with like coffees and lunches. And if a client wanted to meet in person, I would always jump at it. And then, of course, when the world shut down and changed so dramatically, so did my, working from home for me wasn't really usually that much working from home. I did a lot of working from coffee shops and, a friend's co-working space. And I was always on the move. And then all of a sudden it was me in my apartment with my husband, who was also working from home, and our baby, and we had a part-time nanny who was my cousin, who's amazing, but it was a very full house. So I guess one of my favorite work from home lunches, I'm maybe back to my cheese maven identity, but I'm all about the cheese plate. I feel like it's just such a good snack / anytime meal. It's so easy. It doesn't take very much time. I can kind of put whatever on it I have in the house. It looks good. It's like my snacking joy. And I think it's really, for me, I kind of realized that I couldn't do work and childcare at the same time without just being so stressed and miserable. So I have to work when, and of course things happen. We've had a COVID scare. We're all fine, but preschool closed for a week, and it's been this challenge trying to get childcare. But I think at that point it's like, okay, then I'm going to need to just be really easy on myself. I'm not going to have the most productive work week. I'll do something during nap time, and I will do less than I wish that I could do, and I have to try to find some acceptance around that.
I was looking through your Instagram, and you have a thing on there. You say, some things I do for work these days. And one of them is teaching writing, and another one is edit other people's books. What are some of the things you see most common in other people's writing, and maybe even in your own, but it's easier to critique other people, that you see in other people's writing that is kind of the thing that they need to work on the most?
Ooh, writing is interesting because when I teach these food writing classes, and some people are so, they come to class with such thoughtful, articulate, brilliant things to say, and then it somehow doesn't make it onto the page. So, and that's not the case for everyone, but it's the case for some people. And so I feel like if that's your challenge and you have trouble, for me, I think I'm lucky in a way. I think very well, through writing itself. But if you don't, one of my favorite tips is to record yourself and just do a voice note on your phone or whatnot and talk. And then maybe through transcribing, you can kind of access some things that you couldn't if you were just to sit there with your either a notebook or a laptop. And then I think it's always good to just have other people who you trust to read your work, because we don't have good perspective as our own readers of our own writing the way that someone who comes fresh to the page will have a perspective on it. So I think having some writing friends, writing accountability buddies is just such a gift.
Do you have any recommendations as to the best foods to eat right now at home and why?
I mean, the best foods to eat are whatever you like. I mean, there's so many good foods to eat. I think, let's see, for me, I'm kind of love exploring like a new, in my neighborhood in Brooklyn during the pandemic, we had some like really great things open up. Like we have a great new butcher. We had this amazing, there's this restaurant called Olmsted that opened up, I guess as many restaurants did at the time, a little shop that sold incredible like snacks and baked goods. And then I was really sad they closed again because they made more room for back to their restaurant. And I missed they just had this incredible like togarashi popcorn. They had these incredible oatmeal raisin cookies, just little things that were treats. But I love kind of discovering delicious things that can, I think especially like make a work from home day feel a little bit more special.
All right. Well, Hannah Howard, author of the book Feast, True Love in and Out of the Kitchen, and the new book, Plenty, a Memoir of Food and Family. Thank you so much for joining us. Your website is hannahhoward.nyc. That's hannahhoward.nyc. Hannah, any final thoughts for our listeners or anything else you'd like to promote?
That's it. Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone has a great and delicious and happy Thanksgiving.
All right. That's, again, hannahhoward.nyc for her. You can check us out at workfromhomeshow.com. That's workfromhomeshow.com. Send us an email if you have any questions or things you want us to cover. That's hello@workfromhomeshow.com. hello@workfromhomeshow.com. Go ahead and go to your podcast platform. Leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. Sign up for our mailing list. We'll be sending some Black Friday stuff out in the near future. And until next week, keep on working from home.